to the YouTube channel Pro Enzo Vids, and this is my round 17 NRL tips for 2023. And yeah, look back into, I guess, a nearly full round, because only 3 teams have the bye this week. Tigers, Bulldogs and the Sharks are the only teams that have the bye this week, I believe. So, you know, it should be a yeah, hopefully another good round of footy. Some interesting games that are coming up. Like on Friday, Dragons and the Warriors at WIN Stadium is a game that never would be live on 9. Never. It'd never be a main game, but there we go. It is, and I am looking forward to seeing who wins that one. I think that's a bit of a toss of the coin, especially if it's at WIN Stadium, because Warriors don't travel often there too much. Games like, I guess, Dolphins Eels have potential at Sunshine Coast Stadium. Big one on Saturday night, Manly and the Storm, always a big game when them two play. And Sunday, a game that stands out to me is probably the Raiders and the Roosters, the last game at Allianz at 6 o'clock. So some interesting games there that could be good, but hopefully a good round in general. But before I do get into my round 17 tips, if you are a new subscriber and if you are a new viewer of the channel, please be sure to like this video, and please do and go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. My goal is to get to 3,500 subscribers by the end of June to early July. So if that is possible by then, any support would be greatly appreciated. So I do thank those new subscribers, and the new support that's rolled in recently really does mean a lot to myself and this YouTube channel. But without further ado, time to get into my round 17 tips. Right, so the first game is Dragons and the Warriors at WIN Stadium in Wollongong. And both these sides, the Warriors had the bye last week, and same with the Dragons, I think. I think both sides were, yeah, they did. Both sides had the bye last week, and I guess we'll see who has the week, who had the better advantage of having the week off, and who will be a bit more ready for game day. Yeah, the big news for the Dragons is that Ben Hunt's playing, and we know that Ben Hunt wants to get a release effective immediately by the Dragons. So yeah, I don't know what the Wollongong faithful will think about that. I think they will definitely give it to him, and if he gets booed, then I can't say it's not fair enough, because I think he does deserve some sort of negative reception for what he's done. And for the Warriors, well, the Wars, they're in good form, and you know, their form is really good at the moment, so they will want to continue that away from New Zealand. But both teams now, for the Dragons, Jack Bird is back on deck after being rested since round 13 to allow him to recover from a few niggling injuries. Jack DeBellin returns from a head knock and will play his 200th game as well. Jaden Sullivan remains in his preferred 5'8" role and is set to play alongside Ben Hunt. And that's it for the Dragons. And for the Warriors, Dylan Walker comes back on the bench and comes and replaces Mitch Barnett, who is serving a 1-game suspension. And for the untimely hamstring injury following his NRL debut, Ali Leataua is unfortunately out. So Rocco Berry starts in the centres, and Luke Metcalf remains at 5'8", with T. Murray Martin returning from a broken leg. Well, not yet, but he's still a few weeks away, Murray Martin. But my tip for this game, I'm going to tip the Warriors here, 1-12. I'll go Warriors, 26 points to 18. I think that'll be a bit too good for the Dragons. And I'll go first try scorer, Marcel Montoya. On to the first game on the Saturday now. It is the Dolphins taking on the Eels at Sunshine Coast Stadium. So, yeah, look, Sunshine Coast Stadium, it's great to see an NRL game and any NRL game being played there, because it's a stadium that I quite rate. That doesn't get utilised enough, I don't think. So, and I believe it's the Dolphins home game, and they did agree to have at least one game at Sunshine Coast in their inaugural season. That's the word. And yeah, now they get to play at Sunshine Coast. So yeah, no, should be a good game, Dolphins and Parramatta. Obviously, Parramatta beat us last week, which I'm not going to get into. But yeah, they'll want to back up their form and have a go against the Dolphins, who have been a bit average as of recent. But going through both sides, for the Dolphins, there's a lot of changes after their loss to Manly 2 weeks ago, because of the bye last week. Felice Kafusi returns from a suspension that sees Connelly Lemuelu go back to the bench, while Sean O'Sullivan is included in the reserves, and he could be a late inclusion if he does play. Jerry Marshall-King is named after recent struggles with a shoulder injury. Brenko Lee is out with a leg issue and is replaced by Valence Tivara in the centres. Josh Kerr, who will make his club debut for the Dolphins now after being a mid-season signing, will play off the bench. And on debut for the Dolphins, Braden McGrady. Now, this is a player that has been around for a long time. He's been playing in the Storm system for God knows how long, and he's finally getting an opportunity in first grade. So that's good to see Braden McGrady get an opportunity. Definitely a late bloomer to debut. And it says he has scored 10 out of 11 reserve grade tries this year. That's really good. 10 tries in 11 games in reserve grade. That's really good. And he replaces Robert Jennings. And for Parramatta, Sean Lane has been included in the reserves. It could be a late inclusion to come back. Mitch Moses, Junior Paolo could be also coming back into the side. They back up from Origin. And that's about it. All right, my tip for this game, it's a tough one. But I think if guys like Moses and Gufferson and Polo, if they were all playing together, then I think it's a bit too much for the Dolphins, unfortunately. So I'll go Parramatta here, 1-12 as well. Probably a scoreline of 22 points to 14. And I'll go first try scorer, Mike Acevo. Now on to the second game on Super Saturday. It is the Penrith Panthers taking on the Newcastle Knights at Bluebet Stadium in Penrith at 5:30 p.m. Now, the last time these two sides played, we all remember when it was a really, tough game. It was really a game that could have gone either way in Newcastle. I think the final score was like 21-20 or 22-20. Can't remember exactly, but there were a few field goals in this game, and it went down to goal point, I believe, and Knights should have won this game, but the Panthers just were a bit too quality and won the game in the end. So do Knights get their revenge in Penrith this time? It's tough because it's in Penrith, but I guess you can never say never. But for both sides, for the Panthers, the return of Moses Leota from time away from on personal grounds bumps Matt Eisenhuth out of the 17, while Scott Sorensen and Liam Martin are the new back row duo in the expense of Zach Hosking, who's 18th man, and that's about it. And all the players that are playing Origin tomorrow night are so far backing up to play this game. And for the Knights, Daniel Saifidi takes his place in the starting front row after missing last week with a certain issue. Greg Marzio returns on the wing after being dropped last week for failing to meet team standards. And Tyson Frizzell is back. Is going to back up from Origin Game 2, and Dylan Lucas keeps his spot in the back row as well. My tip for this game, Penrith will be too good, and I want to see Newcastle give an effort and potentially push the Penrith Panthers, but I think Penrith are just going to be a bit too good. So Panthers 13 plus, unfortunately. I reckon maybe 32 to maybe 32-16. First try scorer, I like Liam Martin in the back row from Origin. Okay, on to a big game now, and it's always a highly anticipated game. It's Manly and the Storm at Amy Park at 7:35 p.m. to wrap off Super Saturday. Huge game because it's a game that defies Manly's season, in my opinion, because if you lose this game, then I think it's hard to see how we'll bounce back and continue our season, because I think it's such an important game. As for Melbourne, though, they've seemed to click into some form recently, and they seem to be hard to, I guess, counter and challenge against. So we have to be at our 110% best, because I think if we aren't, Melbourne could really, put the dagger through us and make it an ugly scoreline. So really got to be better than what we've been. But as for the teams, how they go, the Storm welcome back Justin Olam, so that's a huge in for them, which bumps Marion Seve out of the squad. With Tui Kamikamica not named, Tom Eisenhuth starts in the front row with Christian Welch, who returns from a one-game suspension. Nelson Asafa-Solomona moves to an edge, and Cameron Munster, Xavier Coates, and Harry Grant are all named to back up. And as for us, Manly, Tom Trbojevic has been named in the reserves in jersey 22, so it could be a late inclusion to come in, but see how he goes on Wednesday. And Dallas Curry Evans has also been named to start halfback as well. Jake Harford's on standby reserves, and I can't believe this, but young Samuela Fine, who's been dropped in the place of Aaron Woods and Ben Condon. Well, I like Condon, but I'm not going to say who I don't like and dislike in that team, but it's pretty obvious that Fine should be in that team. But as my tip, now for the rest of the year, I'll be to be Manly in any game. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. I'm just going to tip Manly because they're my club and I just want to back them all the time. So it's pretty much a criminal thing if I don't do it. But yeah, I'll be a real supporter and back the team every week. But I will tip Manly, and I think I've got a bold prediction for this game. I reckon Tom will play. Weeks will be dropped out of the team, maybe in for Lord on the bench if lucky. But I reckon this will go down to Golden Point like that game in 2019 between Manly and Melbourne, round 19 at Amy Park, where in that same game it went down to Golden Point, 40 seconds away from being a draw. And in that game, Cherry Evans came in clutch and got an incredible field goal. So I can see it happening again. So I reckon the score's going to be Manly 17, Storm 16, Cherry Evans field goal in the first half of Golden Point. And first try scorer will be through Melbourne though, through Will Warbrick. But that's my bold prediction for this game. Hopefully I'm right somehow. Okay, on to the first game of Sunday. It is the Broncos taking on the Titans at Suncorp Stadium at 2 p.m. The Broncos are playing a Sunday game. Is that a misprint? Because they never play a Sunday game, so it's the first in a while. But it's a strange sight to see. But Broncos and Titans take on each other at 2 p.m. the first game of 3 on Sunday. Look, the Broncos are in great form. They're in unstoppable form. Sitting first on the ladder for a reason, and that week off will only do them good. So they'll be fresh and ready to go with all their Origin players expected to back up and play as well. And for the Titans, they've been inconsistent recently. They've been quite inconsistent. That win against the Tigers was good before they had the bye last week, but still in a bit of up and down form, I reckon. But as for the teams, for the Broncos, Kurt Capel's out for 3 weeks because of a... doesn't say why he's out, actually, but he's out for 3 weeks, though. Brendan Piakura gets his chance in the starting back row alongside Jordan Ricky. Capel is the club's only major injury concern right now. With Solon Colbo set to play despite a lingering hip pointed problem, so Colbo will play. Payne Haas, Patrick Carrigan, Tom Flegler, and Reece Walsh are all named to play, while Tyson Smithy remains the preferred backup hooker ahead of Corey Pakes. And as for the Titans, Big In Kieran Foran's back, and he'll start 5'8" after 4 weeks. Jane Campbell moves back to the interchange. Dave Fafita returns in the back row after he missed round 15 with a concussion. Klesi Haas to the bench. Cruz Lamy and Isaac Fuasul Malawi drop out of the 17. Fafita, Tino, and Fortawaka all named the backup so far. My tip for this game, honestly, it should be a one-way traffic game. I think Broncos should be too good, but I have a feeling it might be tighter than what we think. I think the Titans always turn up for the Broncos, and they always have some tight and some blowout matches, but usually some tight matches as well, more than blowouts. And I think it'll be another case of a tight game. A couple of years ago, the Titans did upset the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium on a Sunday arvo. I do remember that game, so it could happen again. I have to wait and see, but I reckon Broncos will win 22 points to 22 to 18, and I reckon they'll win by 4. First try scorer, Herbie Farnworth. On to the main game on the Sunday now. It is the Rabbitohs taking on the Cowboys at a Core Stadium at 4:05 p.m. Another tough game to tip, I reckon, because Souths have been good, but they have had some issues with injuries and stuff, which haven't helped them. But they do get some troops back, which might help them in this game. And for the Cowboys, they've had some good wins recently. They've been, sort of clicking into form and form that they had to play in to be a bit better than what they have been all year. But taking on a team like Souths at a core is not an easy task. But as for both sides, for the Rabbitohs, Latrell Mitchell's been he's out again. So that calf injury is still getting to him. But that leaves Blake Hastays at fullback. But the good news is that Cody Walker returns to the Rabbitohs at 5'8", so he returns after a quad strain. Tom Burgess is set to make his return from a back injury via the bench, and Jake Cartwright replaces Jacob Host in the second row. David Moali will play his first game since round 9, and Damien Cook and Cameron Murray are expected to back up from Origin. And for the Cowboys, with all 5 of their Origin representatives, they all are expected to back up as well. A facial fracture for Hill and Lukey sees Jack Kazeski join the bench, and Kuli Kefu Finafuiaki to start. And Jason Tamalolo is set to come off the bench is set to start after coming off the bench last week. So that's the teams right there for both Cowboys and Rabbitohs. My tip for this game, yeah, I can see the potential in this being a very tight game as well, and it should be a good game, I think. But I'll go Souths here 1-12. I think Souths are just a bit more. I trust them a bit more, but Cowboys could surprise, and it wouldn't shock me. But I'll go Rabbitohs 1-12. I'll go off a scoreline of, let's go 24 points to 12. And I reckon first try scorer will be Cody Walker in his return. He'd want to have a big game. And on to the last game of Sunday, it is the Roosters taking on the Raiders to wrap up the final game of round 17 at Allianz Stadium at 6:15 p.m. So this game should be another good one too, because I think it's intriguing because Roosters, and their form's been shocking so far, but their win against the Knights might give them some confidence being back at Allianz, from that win away from Allianz. So yeah, they should be a bit ready to go, you'd think. And as for Canberra, yeah, Canberra have not been bad themselves, but they have had some, I guess, wins and losses that they should have probably maintained better and got more wins and losses. But, that's Canberra. They can be inconsistent sometimes, but see how they go. Playing at Allianz for the first time, I believe, or at the new Allianz for the first time, so that's interesting. They bowled that game against the Warriors hard for Jared Croker, so that was embarrassing. And for the Roosters, I'll go for the teams now. So for the Roosters, Luke Keary has been named to play, and that's a real shock to me, because I think he had a broken jaw before, but it just got put back into place because he had a plate that got moved. So that's why Keary's been cleared to play. After starting at fullback, Joseph Manu shifts back to the centres to accommodate the return of James Tedesco, who will back up. Corey Allen is the man to drop out. Victor Rayleigh is back from a suspension at lock. And Lindsay Collins is set to back up from Queensland duty. And Tilly Tupanua has been named to play despite a badly corked fire last week. And for the Raiders, after the weekend off from the bye, Ricky Stewart's named the same 1-17 from that game against the Warriors that they lost. And Hudson Young is the only question mark, and if he's going to play or not. But I assume he'll back up. My tip for this game, I will back the Roosters here. I think the Roosters at home and at Allianz are a different side there. I know they got thumped there by Penrith, but usually at Allianz they're a side that competes pretty well, and I think that win against the Knights is just enough confidence to get them over the line for this one against Canberra. So Roosters 1-12. I'll go Roosters 28 points to 20. A few points in it, and I'll go first try scorer Junior Pauga on the wing. Been in good form, but that's my round 17 tips for 2023. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and comment your tips in the comment section down below. Very keen to see who everyone's backing for the weekend. But until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week for round 18 tips.